Bonus question. Yeah, if you could explain the purpose of Grio and the book, the book, the book. I want to know about the book because you mentioned. I thought this was fun. You mentioned that you had an interest in history, and I feel with doing the Grio, you're fulfilling that desire of history that you kind of was like, oh, I'm going to go in the engineering direction, but history, I like history, and I like newspaper. I used to be a journalist, so talk about Grio. Do that for me.
Oh man, Val. So we could go some places because I heard you say that you had family in Arkansas. I have family in Arkansas. I used to do the legal thing. I used
Yeah,
to write
dude.
for a black newspaper way back. So we could go a lot of places,
Mm-hmm.
but specifically to MB and Grio.
Mm-hmm.
MB and Grio is is really focused on using our cultural heritage as people of African descent, as Black people, in a way that is affirming, uplifting, unleashes potential, and unlocks opportunity. That's what NBN Grio does. So it is a group of 2,000 business owners who have come together and said, this is how we want to create a legacy. This is how we want to impact the world around us, right? Doing commerce, doing business with each other is great, but we have an even greater opportunity to do more in our communities. So what NBN Grio does essentially is a few things. NBN Grio distributes the Historical News Journal. This journal is a chronicle of Black excellence throughout history. It is a story of our tragedies, our triumphs, written in real time
Mm-hmm.
in a way that is accessible. So it's using newsprint essentially, reproducing those articles. What we get to see as adults and as children, my kids have been fascinated by it as well, is understanding what was taking place in that contemporary context of the time. What were the stories that were being told about us, and what were we saying about ourselves? How are we uplifting? And what you find, even under the worst circumstances, we were doing great things.
Right.
We, as Black people, were thought of for quite a long time, in many ways, as inferior or from a place of lack,
Right.
just because of our skin tone. And so, what this does is it reverses that story. So, what we do at MBN Grio, we want to get that journal in the hands of students. We want to get it in the hands of youth serving organizations. We want to get in the hands of nonprofits. So, we begin to control our story, our narrative, and the history that has been written. What we know, and I'm going to go scriptural here, the lack of knowledge, the lack of knowledge is oftentimes what prevents a people from having success. So part of our history has been hidden. What the Historical News Journal in this Grio initiative does, it reconnects us to our true story.
Right.
We didn't have lack. Um, we weren't in a place where we couldn't get the job done. We were getting the job done under the worst circumstances. You know, we built the White House, but what was the story about behind building the White House? Who was a guy like Benjamin Banneker who laid out the grid for the entire city of Washington, D.C., the capital city of the
Right.
what arguably is the most powerful nation on earth. So, you know, you start putting those dots together, and that's what's represented in the journal. So here's what we're going to do as MBN as an organization. We are going to leverage the distribution of the Historical News Journal to create scholarships for deserving college students. We're going to create opportunities for those students to also connect with mentors within our organization, if they so desire,
Mm-hmm.
to have that sort of support. Thinking long term in terms of, right, if I'm coming out of school, I'm going to need to know people who in business who may have been there before,
Right.
walk that walk, who can give me some tips on how to talk the talk and how to play the game successfully. The other thing is that we're going to provide an earning opportunity through commissions to these students. Oftentimes, we know, you know, Val,
I
when
know.
you're on campus, there's times where, you know, you don't got no money. And
Mm-mm.
what students are doing today, they're going out here, they're doing Uber 4, 5, 6 hours on a weekend. Now,
Hmm.
I was in engineering school, so doing Uber meant I wasn't studying. And when I wasn't studying, that made it harder when they came up with those exams and tests to do well. So what
Exactly.
we're doing is we're creating these opportunities for them to earn money without leaving their dorm room, without leaving campus, by telling the story, distributing the story, and getting it out there. The third thing, so like we know in our community, there are business owners who aren't connected, business owners who are trying to do it on their own. They may find a group like NBN, again, the national organization of 2,000 business owners, and they want to connect with us, but finances are a barrier. So, what this initiative will also do is create sponsored memberships for deserving organizations who may have a financial barrier into our network, which is NBN. Finally, the final part, I think this is the greatest part of what we're doing in giving back, is we are also creating sponsored media campaigns, 2 sponsored media campaigns every 6 months for deserving organizations who again face a financial barrier in terms of communicating their value to the marketplace. So what we're talking about is a 30-second television commercial. Also, ads that run on the social media platforms of well, I can go into all of them, but there's the leading networks on television, and there's also all the social media platforms as well. So a tremendous opportunity to get the word about that great service, that great business, that great product that you have out there, even if you have a financial barrier. So what NBN Grio is for our organization, it's a cultural mindset. It is how do we lift others up as we're rising as a group together.
And no, and I think it's a great idea, and we're gonna go forward with it. I've been reading through and been completely fascinated with the journals, and as a person that was working in journalism, this is fascinating. So any journalism students, anyone, any history, any interest in history, this is something that would be great to do. And if you're a business owner, come talk to us about NBN, the NBN network.